Minnesota on mat 1. Let's just call it mat 1 on mat 2. At the same time, there'll be exhibition matches. For the most part, it'll be Purdue guys versus Indiana, or excuse me, Purdue versus Minnesota, and we'll sprinkle in some Rutgers matches if there's maybe a weight. For example, I don't think Purdue's bringing an extra 74, so maybe we'll sprinkle in a 74 during that time. Shortly thereafter, I won't say 12 o'clock because it could be 11:30. Purdue versus Rutgers on mat 1. We'll be wrestling our exhibitions with Purdue on mat 2 at the very same time. Let's call it 1 o'clock, maybe 1:30. Rutgers versus Minnesota, mat 1. And we'll do exhibitions with Minnesota on mat 2. Make sense? 4 officials, 4 Big Ten officials, NCAA caliber officials. So should be a great day of wrestling.
Thanks, Goody. So first question will go Steve Fall.
He's got problems with the mute button, always does.
Can you hear?
I got you now, yep.
Can you hear me, Scott? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
I'll ask the obvious question. Any possible lineup changes?
No, other than the fact we're going to weigh in everybody. So what you saw at Ohio State doesn't necessarily mean those guys will all wrestle versus Purdue to start. So we'll look at it. But for the most part, everybody's available if that's what you're asking. But as far as who wrestles Purdue, right? So is it going to be Colucci versus Boone? Is it going to be Grello or Turley? Is it going to be Aguilar or Shawver? Those are things I'm getting emails and texts and questions about. Right now, I think it's our frontline guys, and we'll go from there, and we'll make a decision as we go based on the dual meet and how it's going.
James Cratch, Edge.com. Go ahead, James.
Scott, I guess along those lines, with such a short sprint-type season, do you have to maybe consider hooking someone quicker than you ever would have imagined, or you don't really have the luxury to let these guys work through things?
Yeah, you're right, because not only are success and wins important when you're trying to get to the tournament, but you got to give our guys opportunities to have success and get wins, so it helps them get into the tournament. It doesn't matter, and this is just an example, don't look into this, but it doesn't matter that Joe Grello has wrestled number 2 and 3 in the country. Somewhere along the line, he's got to get a win, so when it comes time for maybe an at-large, there's some success there. You can't be 0-6 and be looking for an at-large bid. So, again, I use Joe just as an example because he's on the top of my mind, but there's got to be some success. So you may see Joe wrestle an exhibition here, an exhibition there. But you're right. It's quick. It happens fast. There's not a whole heck of a lot of feeling out. We got to find our lineup, find it quick. We're not set on it. You probably will see some new faces this week without giving anything away in those dual meets, and that's to just give them an opportunity. And those other guys will still wrestle, but they just may not wrestle in that dual meet. So, you got to find out your lineup pretty quick. We only got 3 weigh-ins left, really 6 duels, including next week's quad, so there's not a whole heck of a lot of time.
Lex Knapp, go ahead.
Coach, Joe Grello being an example, is he someone that maybe you give a little more benefit of the doubt to with coming off an injury from last season? Year before, he was a round of 16 guy. He's really just struggled to kind of break through that barrier with a big ranked win. Is he someone you kind of give a little more time to?
Well, I think Joe has been with us for 5 years. He's a huge part of this program. Clearly, he hasn't wrestled the way he's wanted to wrestle the first 2 outings. But that being said, everything for us is evaluation. So I know it's freestyle, but he beat a really good opponent down November 15th in North Carolina, a really good opponent. So the preparation was always good, the training. He just wrestled 2 really good guys. Yeah, we need to be in those matches. There's no doubt about it. There needs to be a better, and I don't want to say effort because that's not fair, but there needs to be a better being able to compete at a higher level with Massa and with Ohio State's guy. I know they're 2 and 3 in the country. I know they're really good, but we expect Joe to compete with those guys, and maybe the outcome isn't what we want. But yeah, we're not done with Joe Grello by any stretch of the imagination. But we're very aware of how exciting Jackson Turley can be. We're very aware of that. But we evaluate Jackson too. He wasn't great versus Michigan, and he'll be the first to admit that. Nobody sees that result, right? Because it's an exhibition match. Wasn't very good against Michigan. But now he's got his legs under him and he's wrestling better, and he had a good result against Ohio State. Does Jackson Turley deserve to wrestle? Yes. We got to get him in a big spot. So that's something, again, off the top of my head, you may see. And that's also that's not protecting anybody, but we feel both guys are good. And Joe's been in this program for a long time. Yeah, he deserves a little bit of leeway. But at the end of the day, there needs to be a real high ability to compete at a high level.
Nick Costco, go ahead.
Coach, since this weekend it has 2 matches, and a lot of these guys will have that magic number of 4 going into. I know you mentioned the magic number of 4 to be eligible for NCAA's. Will you start sitting some guys out depending upon their health going into February at all, or are you just going to say get as many matches in as possible before Big Ten's comes up?
Man, that's a great question, Nick. It's about, honestly, this is about health, right? So, yeah, if you get to that magic number 4, maybe it is pulling back guys, maybe not even allowing them to travel. For me, first and foremost is the COVID, right? I want them to stay in a bubble. I don't want, if there's, anytime we go on the road, there's a chance. So, yeah, I worry about that as we get closer and closer to the Big Tens, because there's a small margin of error. If you do get sick, it ends up being 17 days, then there is no Big Ten tournament. Now you're relying on an at-large bid. So I worry about it. It's something that's on my mind for sure. If we're healthy, we're going to wrestle. Our guys want to compete. They want to wrestle, but I have to be super, super smart. That goes along the lines of, too, with makeups, trying to make up Penn State, things like that, working with the Big Ten. Is it smart for us to go to bring in another team, to be surrounded by another team based on everything going on as we get closer and closer to the Big Ten championships? Makes it hard not only for Rutgers, for everybody. How do they make up the Michigan matches and the Michigan State matches based on what's going on in their programs? It makes it hard because you want to have as much time as possible before the Big Tens without a chance of risking health, if that makes sense.
James Cratch, go ahead.
Scott, has anything that Paz has done so far surprised you?
No, I don't. I absolutely felt he was going to win that match. So, no, that wasn't surprising to me. He's as good as advertised. I think there's a whole other ceiling he can get to, a whole nother level he can get to. I think he's scratching the surface now. I was happy to see him get off the bottom against a kid who's pretty good on top. So that was huge for a freshman. We all know, you guys on this call, those guys have struggled in that area, but not surprised by Paz. Has a huge weekend. Now, how do you follow that? How do you follow that up, right? You can't be complacent, and he knows it. He's got a really good opponent in Purdue to start the day for him. And then obviously the Minnesota kid's been nationally ranked for the last 3 years. So another really strong opponent. So 2 really good ones back to back. How does he respond? I know because I see him every day in the room how he's going about his business, but it's got to be business as usual, and he's got to prepare for that Max Lyon Purdue match, 11:30 Sunday morning. But again, answer your question, no, I'm not surprised. How does he handle the success now after a big win? Back it up with 2 more big wins. That's what we're looking for.
Mike Abramitis, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Good, Mike. How are you?
Good. Hey, the Ohio State match was exciting. You had the opportunity to win it going into 197. Janzer, that's a match he probably wins 2 out of 3 times. It just didn't work out. So you're 0-2 going into the weekend with Purdue and Minnesota. Probably going to be very, very close matches. You have an opportunity to win both of them, but they're going to be close. So you talked about getting certain guys, making sure they get 4 matches. What are you weighing? You want to be 2-2, or the individuals where they are at their weight class more important with the way this Corona season's going?
Well, I can assure you I'm not just going to throw a guy into the lineup to give him a match. If he's going to be in the lineup, we feel he gives us the best chance to win. So the object's to win the dual meet. We'll start with Purdue and then obviously to win against Minnesota. 2 great opportunities, 2 extremely tough tasks, but we feel we could win both. If we don't wrestle well, we could lose both. So that's kind of our story, right? Same with Ohio State. We're going in to win the dual meets. There's no question about it. We're not going to throw a guy into the lineup unless we feel he gives us the best chance to win. So we'll look at those options and look at it.
And have you determined who the lucky heavyweight is for you guys who are going to face Gable Stevenson?
we'll have some really good dialogue as a staff, and again, a lot depends. I mean, heck, that could come down to saving a team point. That could really come down to saving a team.
Absolutely. That's going to be a nip and tuck match.
Yeah, so all three guys will weigh in. All three guys are available. Who gives us the best chance to keep themselves hang around a little bit and to fight this guy, then that'll be the guy we go with. Now, if the match is over, if the match is done by then, either for us or against us, we can make a decision and go another direction. But a lot to be determined.
Boone looked pretty good in that extra match last week, too.
He did. He wrestled good, and he's getting better, and he's getting accustomed to what we're doing and how we're training and how we're preparing, and he's getting more confident, and that's a good win for him. That guy's beaten a lot of guys through the last couple of years, so that was good for Boone. I thought he controlled the match. He didn't score as much as we'd like, but he did what he needed to do to win, and that's always important.
Well, good luck Sunday. Should be a great day.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, Lex, go ahead with your second question.
Coach, after last year's a pretty heartbreaking loss to Purdue, you were pretty fired up after that, and now you're coming off another heartbreaking loss. What's your message to the team this week to rally back and take on two pretty tough opponents?
Just that. Last week we talked a lot about putting ourselves in position to win and doing everything right and training and preparing for your opponent and who they are. We went about it the same way. We've had everybody in preparing for the guys they're probably going to wrestle. Watching tape, watching themselves, going over a lot of areas where, from an individual standpoint, from a team standpoint, I think so far we've had a really good, week of practice. So that's positive. We understand where we're at, guys. You understand where we're at. We're a 5-5 split every time. We have to get to that point. We have to get it to 5 or 6 to win. There's not a whole lot of room for error. So, there's a match. This is probably a whole different talk if Billy wins, right? Chanzer wins. We expect him to win that. And he just didn't, he didn't have enough. He didn't get it done. He didn't score enough. And, people can say he needs to open up more, sure, but give a little credit to that opponent as well. These guys are good. These guys signed up for the sport and are going to wrestle you back and wrestle hard. And we know Billy needs more offense. There's no doubt about it. But this conversation is a lot different if he wins. Same with Christian Colucci. He has a chance to win that match. And so we spent a lot of time with those upper weights on staying in the center of the mat and don't get pushed around. Keep your butt in the center. And really our whole program, we dealt with that a lot this week. So there's things we've worked on. There's areas we've worked on. But practice has been solid. Preparations there. We know what we're up against. We have a great opportunity. You're right to get to 2-2. But you got to get the first one first. And that's really, we're focused on that. And, but it's been a good week. We're excited about this weekend, and we're going to give a great effort. And that's all we can ask our guys.
A few more questions here. We'll go Nick Costco. Go ahead.
Coach, I wanted to circle back to Jackson Turley. Obviously, he's wrestling 174. This should be bumped up for his exhibition against Ohio State. Do you envision him staying at 74? I mean, he wrestled at 82 in high school. I mean, would he actually bump up at any point this year to 84 to add more depth at that weight, or do you still see him as a 74-pounder this year?
I think right now he's a 74-pounder. That's it. I mean, he weighed in at 174. The only reason why he didn't wrestle 174, they didn't have one. So we're not going to take the trip and not get him a match. He's a competitor. So he went up and did what he needed to do. Wasn't going to use the weight as an excuse, and that's it. So, no, he's a 74-pounder. I think we're, right now, if something happens at 84 and we got to make some moves, then we'll do it. But right now we feel good about our 84-pounder. And we think Jackson's coming on. He's getting better. And, again, he's going to get opportunities to wrestle probably this weekend. So we'll get a look at him this weekend, and we'll go from there. But he's a 74-pounder.
We'll go Steve Falk. Go ahead, Steve.
Can you hear me, Scott, or am I still muted?
Nope, I got you.
Okay. What do you see?
Steve, you don't make a whole heck of a lot of noise anyway. Just keep it unmuted. You're good.
What do you see from Aguiar? What do you think is going on with him right now?
I think consistency with his training has hurt him early on. Again, this is early in the season technically, and then we don't have much time to wait around. And you need him to be performing at a high level right away. Because we don't have those open tournaments that he was so good at the beginning of the year. But I think a lot of it is, and maybe this is an excuse, is consistency with his training, not being there all the time, going away from California, having to come back and sit out, not always being in the room based on COVID and things like that. So maybe consistency in his training. I knew that could be a really good match. I wasn't fooled by what happened in last year's dual meet. This is the Big Ten. These guys get better. They make adjustments. They do a good job. Did he make up a lot of points? Yeah, sure. Guy from Ohio State did a good job making up a lot of points, and that's one we felt we could win. But we just got to get him on track. We got to get him on track, and it doesn't get any easier, right? It doesn't get. I think he's got number 2 in the country, and then the guy McKee from Minnesota who beat number 2 in the country. So, we just got to get him on track. He's certainly capable of competing and wrestling and getting his hand raised against these guys. You just got to. His preparation's been good. I just think he needs to get one on the board. He needs to get a win, and he's got to keep himself in matches, first of all. That's the most important thing. Keep yourself in the match. And he hasn't really done that. So, yeah, there's a concern there. That being said, I'm not sure Shawver's totally ready for this right now. And I don't want to make maybe a mistake I've made in the past in putting someone in there that maybe he's not ready right now. So you'll see Aguilar, and if something happens, Shawver's competing his butt off in the room and wants to be the guy. So that's good. It's healthy competition, and we need Nick to step up and be the guy he was last year.
We have 2 more questions for you, Scott. We'll go Mike Abramitis. Go ahead, Mike.
Coach, will JoJo Aragona be available for extra matches this weekend?
Yeah, I think JoJo's going to be available this week, which is good. Again, he's someone who, I don't, not to be too public, but I guess it's public, had to sit out a little bit based on health, and he's just getting back into it, getting back with us. But I do, we'll look at today. He practiced really good. We'll see on Friday and Saturday where he's at, but he's slated to wrestle. Yes.
And one other question: if you needed another 125-pounder, could Metzler get down that low?
No, not certified.
Great, thank you.
Final question will be James Crouch. Go ahead, James.
Hey, Scott, I'm curious, what does Ron Mazzola mean to New Jersey wrestling? I'm going to write something, so I just figured I'd ask you.
Yeah, he means a lot, man. That guy's been with me even when I was at Jackson, because we used to always wrestle Old Bridge. Just a great guy, a sweetheart of a guy. Did some announcing here for us. He's all about that Region 5, the old school Region 5, and he's the voice of that region, and he's so big in Central Jersey in this area. Just a huge, an encyclopedia of wrestling in this state. Just a huge presence, a great, great guy, and someone I think about, pray about all the time, and hope he's okay, hope he's going to get better, but needs our help right now. The wrestling community needs to understand that Ron needs our help right now, so whatever he needs, we're going to do. And the wrestling community is really, really good about rallying behind somebody, so we'll start doing that within our staff. I already just got done talking to him about the GoFundMe page, so whatever we got to do to get Ron back to us and healthy, we're going to try to do, and just thoughts and prayers with him and his family.
All right, Scott. Thank you. Thank you.